All right, today we're gabbing with Alec Karam, who has been recapping the Real Housewives of Orange County for the Daily Beast all season. I've been loving the recaps, and this has really been a banner season for the Real Housewives of Orange County. And so Alec felt like the perfect person to have on to do our usual end of season deep dive for season 18 now that the three-part reunion is done. Alec, thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and it was a really great season. So I feel like there's so much to talk about, which is always a good thing. It's
Yes,
never a good sign
yes.
when a season ends and there's nothing to say.
100%. Well, I just said this online earlier today, but I'm like, I feel like there's this contingent of people who think that like Housewives reunion should be two parts, and that's sort of they should be succinct and kind of get it over with. But I feel like this was very much an example of like sometimes we need three parts because it was action packed.
Yeah, I think we need three parts more often than we don't. Like, I don't really mind some filler in a
Me
reunion. I don't
neither.
have places to be. Um, so I don't know why some people think that. I think there's been some reunions in specific. I would say like the Beverly Hills four-part reunion was probably the most tedious reunion, and it would
Right.
have been pretty good if it was two or three parts. But I think this one had a lot going on, and Orange County reunions are, in my opinion, some of the cream of the crop usually. So I don't know why anyone would expect anything less from them.
100%. And last season was a two-parter and it was a great season, but I don't think they needed a three-part reunion. So
No.
I'm glad we had three parts this time. So I really think this season overall was one for the books. Do you agree with that assessment of it?
Yeah, I think it was great. Do I think it was the best season in Orange County history? No, but that's because it's been 18 seasons and they
Right.
have, I mean, I think Orange County has some of the best seasons, period. Like season 7 through 11, you could roll a dice. Any of those are obviously some of the best. I even think season 14, which no one ever talks about, I think that was a great season. The whole Kelly Dodd versus the Tracy
Right.
Migas, it was really gutter. It was not feel good at all. I loved it. I think this season was the best season in the last decade, probably, is what I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it was better than the cancer scam, but I don't think it has to be.
No, it doesn't. No, and I think that like when you're 18 seasons into a show, the first franchise, like delivering a performance like this so far into the run is it's just impressive. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially because so many people, like, you think about 3 years ago, people were like, oh, whatever, cancel it, it's over. And I think it's really great that Orange County rebounded so fast and so easily. It wasn't a drastic shift. It just kind of naturally came about, which
Yeah,
I think is
100%.
great.
100%. So, part three of this reunion, I kind of want to start there because I feel like it it really shows us, I think, maybe what the answer is in terms of Alexis's future on the show. I just, it was really wild to watch the whole thing. It was the John and Alexis joint confessionals that we kept cutting to. It was Alexis shutting her down. It was Emily shutting her down. It was Tamara and Heather sort of backing away a little bit, I would say. Um, and you write in your recap from this week, I just want to read this quote because it made me laugh. Alexis has a level of delusion rarely captured on modern television. That's something worth preserving if only she could get out of her own way. Obviously, she does not do that. So I'm sort of with you because it's like I feel like since the beginning of this season with Alexis, fans have been like, I don't want to watch her. I'm done with her, whatever. But I feel like up until maybe the midway point, I was sort of like, obviously, I didn't like her and I didn't like how she was treating Shannon and rubbing it all in her face. But I felt like, okay, if she sort of ends it in the right way, they could bring her back or in some capacity. But she just never changed her course at all, you know?
No, it was bad. I love Alexis, so it's been really hard for me to admit the truth of the situation, which is that I don't think she should return. I mean, if she does, I think it would be great, but I worry it would get tedious in a sense. I think this reunion performance was really bad in a good way. Like, I really thought it was a great train wreck. But of course, if I'm Alexis Blino and I'm trying to strategize how to survive, I wouldn't have done any of the things she did. I think she had a horrible performance. I think she doubled down on all the wrong things.
Hmm.
She didn't seem to care about any of the alliances she did form because anyone with eyes could tell that Heather and Tamra are not going to stay on that sinking ship. I mean, they're smart people. And I believe the show that Jen and Katie are friends with her, but that's not something we've seen, so it's not something the production clearly values at all. Like if they really wanted us to know about all of her friendships, I think they would have shown them.
Right.
So yeah, I would say Alexis flopped, and it makes me sad because, like I said, a level of delusion like that is worth. I love people like Alexis or Brittany on Salt Lake City who aren't coming onto the show with the game plan. I think that's why I find them more refreshing than
Hmm.
some people who seem to know what they're doing. But I wish she knew a little more what she was doing because
Yeah.
it's over.
Where do you think she should have course corrected? Like, where do you
I
think the missed
think
opportunity was?
I think that honestly she flopped from the very start, so it's
Yeah.
hard to say.
Yeah.
Because I would have said if I were her, I would have come into the things trying to build relationships with the other woman and not really antagonizing Shannon from the get-go. I think that would have
Hmm.
been smarter. I mean, you think about gaslighting Shannon, she should have taken some lessons from Heather because she could have stolen Shannon's chair or she could have done subtle things, but she kind of came in with her rehearsed lines and it
Yeah.
was funny, but and then, even in that unseen footage from the first dinner when she yells at Gina, I'm like, okay, first of all, I get that Gina's not that great, but we need her on our side if we're Alexis.
100%.
So I don't know. I think the course correcting, I think it was almost always too late. But
Got
I
it.
think it was definitely too late once she revealed the videos on the first cast trip. I think that's when it crossed
Totally.
over to the point of, I don't want to say no return because I actually feel like she could have returned with a good reunion, but that's when she started playing on hard mode and she's not that good at strategy. So that really probably was it for her.
Totally. And obviously, the big calling card for this season was Shannon getting the DUI, and we're seeing sort of the aftermath of that combined with Alexis rejoining the show. Now she's dating Shannon's ex, and there's these two things that we're going to deal with. And obviously, both delivered the goods, but I kept sort of thinking about like how it could have been a little bit different. And not that I necessarily wanted it to be different, but because I didn't quite expect it to be as much kicking Shannon when she was down. And I'm like,
No.
how could they have like sort of avoided that? Um, and I kind of feel like if they had just waited a couple episodes to introduce Alexis back into the group, and if the first couple episodes were really about like the aftermath of Shannon's DUI and her and Tamara sort of excavating like its impact on their friendship and business relationship and maybe figuring out like hashing it out basically just between them without the Alexis and John factor. I wonder if things would have been different. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I honestly haven't considered that, but I think that it would have been different. I think no matter where she joined, she would have messed it up, but
Of course.
it might have been better. And I think that's like the old school style. It took a while for a full group scene back in the day. And nowadays they want to jump right in. And so
Right.
I guess it would have been interesting to see if the first two or three episodes where she's only filming solo scenes with Heather or Tamara, or I mean, I think Emily still liked her at that point. She could have filmed with Emily.
Right.
I think that would have been interesting. And I wonder what that would have been like. But I don't
Yeah.
even feel like this season kicked Shannon when she's down because I actually feel that it's shocking that she's had the most hero arc of her life after all of this stuff. It's kind of hilarious. I think that's the Shannon Bedore experience. It's like the worse her life is, the better she does on the show.
Well, I don't think that I agree, but I also don't think that the hero arc would have been as pronounced
Oh
if
no.
if they didn't happen at the same exact time because their initial reaction to the DUI was like dunking on her, because she had just, had a terrible reunion the season before or
Yeah.
just before then. So, yeah, I don't
I
know.
think it's interesting. And I mean, obviously, Tamara, the fans want to, beat her with baseball bats. So whenever Tamara is on one side, I think the base naturally goes to the other. So a lot of things did work in Shannon's favor. I will say that. But, I think she handled it great and with an asterisk in a way. Great. I mean, like great for a housewife. And
Right.
I think ideally no one gets DUIs, but,
Yeah, of course. What do you make? I mean, you just mentioned the reaction to Tamra, and she's had quite the performance this season, and she obviously had to come into the reunion with some sort of apology or tail between her legs, and I think
hmm
that she did enough of that, even if it was sort of through gritted teeth, I would say. um, I guess first, how do you read Tamra's trajectory from this season, and like in kind of in conjunction with the fan reaction to her?
so I like Tamara and I always have. And I think that when she returned to the show, she kind of came back with an understanding of why they brought her back. So I do feel like last season she was almost a little too on and a little too ready to jump at any opportunity.
Hmm.
Whereas this
I
year, at
agree.
least I felt it was a natural thing. I think, Shannon talks about her drinking and she's like, no one really said that, but they have talked about it since season 9, and Tamara was talking about it back then. So quite frankly, at least she was grasping onto drama that felt real to me this year. And I like that overall, Tamara sometimes does this, but overall, Tamara has avoided, kowtowing to what the fans want her to do.
Yeah, I
I
agree with
think
that.
that I like that about her because some housewives, I can tell they're reading tweets and then coming to the reunion reverberating a tweet. It's not my favorite thing to see because it's annoying. And I
Yeah.
think maybe it's because Tamara premiered back when the shows were Bad Bangs, Sky Tops, and no social media. But I do think she's avoided that, even though, she has her whole podcast industrial complex thing now.
Right.
But I think she's avoided that. And I think she overall is still one of the best strategists in Housewives, even if she's gotten sloppier with time. So that's what I would say is that I think she played it well. And I know that it was really enjoyable to watch. And I know it wouldn't have been as enjoyable if she weren't there.
Yeah,
And I also
100%.
think she was right about Shannon. She just is going about it wrong. But I don't really want her to go about it right because then it wouldn't be Real Housewives.
Very well said. Very well said. And I agree with the not playing to what the fans not playing to sort of the fan reaction. And I had an episode about this earlier this season because I sort of in response to how intense the reaction was. And I think it was after she had like kind of broken down on her Instagram over like it was like around the chemical peel era and it was just there was a
Yeah.
lot going on for her. And I was like, I was worried about like at what point does it become too much for like just a human being to deal with like all the vitriol? But I feel like Tamra is just like it's just this sort of tank who's just gonna like she's gonna power through and to her it's worth it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I do think she obviously did come into the reunion knowing that the fans don't agree with her.
Yes.
But I think that that's kind of the classic Tamra playbook, anyways, is that the seasons where she behaves the worst, she comes into the reunion
And just
a little
apologizes.
more subdued. Like season
Yeah.
9, when she had her whole Bali, you'll never see my face again. I mean, we saw it again. And she had a great reunion. I mean, she made Lizzie
Yeah.
cry, and then Lizzie gets demoted, which, to be fair, I don't even think was Tamara's fault because Lizzie did, I believe, film as a full-time housewife that next season. But I think she played that one really well. And then there's been seasons where she doesn't feel like she has anything to apologize, like seasons 10 and 11, where she comes into the reunion being a hellish monster, and it's great. I think
Mhm.
this season she is smart enough to know that she fucked up a little bit. Um, I
100%.
think sh I think she's not, and I think she's also smart enough to see what happened in some of the other shows and think, oh, well, I don't want that to happen to us.
Hmm.
So, and I think it's funny too, because yes, she did her classic playbook, but here's Jen in the background being like, oh, here's what she's always doing. And I loved that. I think that's what you need because love Shannon to death, but that roller coaster is a little more played out. The Jen and Tamara stuff feels fresher.
That's literally next on my list of things to bring up because
Hmm.
you made that point in your recap where you basically said like Jen is finally this adversary for Tamra that we need on this show.
Hmm.
And she's quickly sort of built herself up to a point where she's like ready to take that on, I would say. And I think it was always sort of in her, but she's learned it's been a quick learning curve for her, and I've been really impressed by it. And obviously we saw it in the hotel scene when she storms into Tamra's room, and that was the breakthrough. That was the moment where
Yeah.
I feel like she really realized it. Um, but yeah, it's just she has what it takes, and I feel like it's teeing up nicely for next season because it's like, okay, here's this sort of in her mind BS reconciliation between Tamara and Shannon, and she's gonna maybe be the wedge, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's exciting. Like
Me too.
I love that this season ended with a closed door, and yet there's so many threads that there are to pull on for to next year. And that's going back to Alexis, part of the thing that I think is worrisome for her future is that that thread doesn't feel like there's more to pull on, whereas there's
Hmm.
a lot of other things going on. There's Jin versus Tamra, there's Shannon and Tamra, which I fully do not believe that they're going to have a season of sunshine and rainbows. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think that it's also interesting. I think Tamra has been teeing up to go against Gina for 2 years now, but then she gets
Mm.
bored and forgets about it. But I think
Can you explain that a little more?
so. there was the whole last season with Heather versus Tamra. I felt like a
Yeah,
lot of that came about early on by her trying to put a wedge between Heather and Gina so that
yeah,
she
that's
could then
true.
either take down Heather or Gina, depending on where the cookie crumbled. Obviously, she went for the big one. Didn't work out, but I loved the effort. I love Heather, so I'm thank God it didn't work out. But and then this season, the whole Katie versus Gina drama. When they were in Big Bear, she was like, "Well, Katie, you were set up." She talked to Heather about how she
Right.
heard that Gina has been saying that she's only friends with her for her connections.
True.
True or not true? I think that she's definitely subtly trying to. I think it's more like, in season 8 when she got rid of Gretchen and Alexis at the same time. I think Gina's more the Alexis here, where it's like it would be just a bonus for her. Maybe I can isolate this person who sees through me and get rid of her. Because I think Gina's one of the few cast members who consistently has understood that Tamra is a bit of a fake person in the group dynamic and will backstab anyone. I think the other women are more willing to play the game than Gina is. And
Mm.
that's why I think she would prefer Gina not be there. And I think Tamra's also very aware of what makes good TV. And obviously, for years, people have said Gina doesn't. So maybe she's just trying to
Right.
appease those people.
Yeah, like make the show as perfect as it can be. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Gina's the weakest link. No offense to her. Like I said in my recap, the weakest link on Orange County is still a good housewife, but that
Yeah.
doesn't change that. She
Yeah.
is the weakest link.
Yeah. We'll get to Gina and Emily, but I want to
Yeah.
circle just quickly back to Jen, because
Hmm.
another sort of rip from the headline sort of appeal that the season had was the Ryan of it all, and they picked cameras back up, but I kind of feel like they didn't really deliver like as compelling of TV as I sort of expected it to, maybe, but or maybe I didn't even expect it to, but I was, when you hear they picked cameras back up over the past couple of years, we've sort of been trained to like expect something really explosive or something that really kind of sheds light on the situation. And I don't know if we really got that with this situation. I think that more came from the reunion, that we got more clarity there. Um, did did that land for you when it aired?
I mean, I didn't mind that they picked up cameras, but I agree
No,
with
of course
you
not.
that it
Yeah,
felt like we could have covered all of that with the finale music and her 3 sentences because they picked
right.
it up. Because they also flew through it. I felt like it seemed like they were really trying to get to the end. Maybe they only got ordered 17 episodes and they really wanted
Hmm.
an 18th because I felt like they could have stretched out all of the finale to be more than it was. And so I
I
agree with
agree.
you that the final 4 minutes felt so inconsequential. I did love Jin's very dramatic, like tears, and I fucked it all up. That was great. But the actual Jin and Ryan conversation, we only got 2 sentences of, and the sentence from the trailer where she's like, "So it's all God's plan, and that's why they're going against you," which I wanted to hear. She didn't even
Me
say.
too.
So
I wanted to hear that too, because I feel
I
that
like
speaks to
wanted to
sort of some
hear
of
all of
the,
that.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
agree with you. I think they probably, I don't think it was a bad idea to pick up cameras, but knowing
No.
which footage they actually got from that, I think they could have saved it for maybe a reunion flashback or something like that.
Yeah, especially as we I genuinely feel like I understand the situation way more because of the reunion, partially because
Yeah,
Emily helped explain it, to be honest, even though she inserted herself. I do
yeah.
understand it better because of that. So
God knows no one's reading the article. It's too long. I mean, it seems bad. I'm worried for Jen, but I also really love Jen, and I think that
me
I'm
too.
really happy I'm worried about her. Like, I'm happy that I'm invested in her personal life. To be a new housewife and still have really compelling solo footage is a good thing because so many housewives these days, I feel like, don't really have good solo footage or don't even try to. And it's not their fault. It's just the genre has changed. But I
Hmm.
think when people say, oh, she's an old school housewife, it's because I could follow Jin to Target and still be really intrigued by what's going on there.
100% in her yoga outfit.
No, I
I
know
also
she has a great Target shop. Like I know
Oh,
she kills it at the grocery
absolutely. She's
store.
filling up that cart. And it's
Yes.
efficient, but it's efficient. Yes, 100%. I also feel like her friendship with Katie, in addition to Katie's sort of end of season, sort of she blossomed a little bit towards the end of the season, but I feel like that in conjunction with the connection she has with Jen, the very clear connection she has with her, that sort of I think has helped cement what is most likely another season for Katie, in my opinion, because like I mean, like you said, we see this post reunion scene, and Jen and Katie aren't there.
Hmm.
And if it was just one of them who wasn't there, it would be a little bit more like, wait, what is this? But it's sort of like they're probably all having lunch somewhere, and they're
Yeah.
and they're a, a twosome that's a force to be reckoned with, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how much of the intention it was to not include them in that scene. I don't think it meant that much. Like, I agree. I think that a rising tide lifts all boats. I honestly would be pretty surprised if any of these housewives aren't back next year.
Me too.
Like, I have my opinions about Gina. I don't really think she should be back. But if she is, that's okay because everyone's a good housewife. And I would be floored if Katie doesn't get a second season. I think she did more than enough.
Me too.
And I think there's also a lot brewing beneath the surface with Katie. Like I think about like Bronwyn, like OC Bronwyn, how after her first season, we had no idea what was in store
Yeah.
for her wild second season. And I don't think Katie's necessarily that unhinged, although it would be funny. But I think we're going to see more layers to Katie than just the relatable girl next door. I feel like we didn't get to focus on her this season. And
hmm
now it's kind of interesting. A lot of the women do not seem to be in love with Katie, which I don't think was picked up during the actual show. I don't
Other
think
than
we realized
Heather.
that
Yeah.
Emily doesn't like her or that
Right.
Gina doesn't like her as much as she doesn't. We knew Heather hates her. I don't even think Tamara likes her if I'm just picking up on what was put down. And Shannon, she's busy. Like she's got her own stuff. I don't know
Right.
if she is.
Right. But earlier you said like, with Alexis there aren't that many threads to pull. With Katie, there are so many different threads
Oh
you could
yeah.
pull. Like there's truly I can think of four different directions you could take her personal storyline next season. And there's the daughter, there's the trip back to meet her adoptive mother, I believe. There's the messy family situation in Georgia with like her ex and her son. Like there's a lot going on there and I
Hmm.
feel like part of the other women's sort of hesitancy with her is they think that there are a lot of contradictions in her stories and how she retells things. I didn't I didn't like read those as lies in the way that they did necessarily. I think that they're just kind of complicated situations. Did you read
I
them
don't
as
know.
yeah.
I'm always on the fence with Katie, and I like
Okay.
that. I don't think I figured her out at all. And I think that's really a good thing for her is that she's a little bit hard to read so far. And I think
hmm
in 5 years I'll come back and I'll know if she was telling the truth or not, is what I'll say.
Totally.
I think that on rewatch, Katie will make a lot more sense when we have a lot more context. But I don't know. I think she was lying a bit, but I think they were also being a bit uncharitable.
hmm
I think they should let the lies speak for themselves if they're so confident she's lying.
Huh.
I don't think it was the best look. But then again, I thought it was really entertaining. And like that's something I think is great about Heather is when she has an opinion and it's nasty or it's rude, she's not gonna shy away from it. I think that's something cool about her, even if it was really hard to watch the Heather versus Katie at the reunion. But I think the women are probably right about Katie, but I think everyone's a liar in some way or another. I don't think that they should not give her another chance because she's a bit like as Jen said, whatever, she explains it. Obviously, Jen has a different barometer for BS than some of us,
Yes.
but I think Katie is probably no more of a liar than the average Real Housewife. And I'm excited to see where she goes next year. And I agree, there's so many threads to pull on, and they feel natural. Like I want her daughter to make more mean TikToks. I think that's funny.
Me too. Me too.
I don't think it was that big of a deal because whatever, but I thought it was really funny. And like, I don't know, Shannon's daughters could make a mean TikTok too if they really felt so compelled.
That's
Like, let's
true.
just OC
That's
was
true.
built on kids drama. I don't think it's a big deal if one of them makes a TikTok.
Especially if they're of age, exactly.
Yeah, and it
Um,
wasn't that mean. It was just it was
no, it was
funny. I think if
shady.
you already hate Katie, you will hate that everything she does. But
Hmm.
if you don't, it was funny.
Right. So let's get in a little bit more into the Katie Heather of it all and kind of in conjunction with that, this idea that like I think some people think that Heather like showed some mean girl qualities this season. And for me, obviously, like you said, it can be hard to watch, but I kind of like that she let herself be a little bit unlikable this season, almost for the first time since she's returned to the show. I feel like in a big way, like there was like on the London trip was not great for Heather in terms of like
Mm-mm.
her likability, and I feel like that's something that she really values, and I think that her like letting herself go there with Katie and then kind of with Shannon and on the London trip, I appreciated it. That again, it just kind of adds complication to her image. But I was kind of still surprised at some of the hills she chose to die on this season, especially when it came to Katie and Alexis.
Yeah, I was kind of too, but I actually think Heather does that a lot. And I think that people have rose-colored glasses depending on what season it
Mm,
is with Heather. In season 9, she really died on the Shannon Hill when anyone could have told her that that was just a little bit bizarre. I mean,
right.
obviously, the stealing the chair and the psychotic break, and I mean, at least she didn't call an ambulance for Katie. Maybe she's grown, but like, I think that that's Heather. I think
Yeah.
she's very perceptive with the group dynamic, but her own dynamics, she can be a bit hard to read, and I think that's okay. And
Hmm.
I do think she did take some shocking directions this year, but I liked it because it was a great year for her. I really liked her and Tamra in all black, like class clicking their champagne glasses in London. I like them as a villainous duo more than I really liked them as friends who are like
Right.
the. And I think when she first left the show, because of Vicky's stuff and then Kelly Dodd, she kind of did get to leave as the Greek chorus moral compass of the group. And she's not really doing that now. But that's good.
Yeah,
We need
I
to
agree
see
with
all
you.
of the layers of Heather Dubrow. And I
Hmm.
don't think they didn't make me like her less. I don't really
No.
agree with her in a lot of the situations. But like one of my friends texted me and was like, I'm almost never on Heather's side, but I really love her. And I think that just speaks to who she is. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I'm often not on Heather's side, but I often still am like, yeah, keep going. Do that
Yeah,
again.
hundred
I
percent.
think she's a great adversary to the people that she fights with. And I think she takes herself so seriously that it's funny.
1,000%. All right, so now we can finally get to a topic that I you clearly have a lot of thoughts on, which is Gina and Emily. You know, I don't find them nearly as offensive as you might or other people do. Like I just see them. They just feel like they've solidified their place in the cast, and they're good people to like shift around to the different sides, and they carry information and they're good connectors. I do think Emily needs to deliver more personal storyline if she's going to butt into people's businesses so much, especially in the reunion. Um, but to tell me your thoughts because I know you have them.
Um, I don't have a million thoughts about them. Like, I'm not so hateful. I understand why they're still here. They're utility players through and through.
Yes.
And I think they've done a good job of shifting through the like 4 eras of Orange County that they've survived to,
Mm-hmm.
so which is impressive. My biggest issue I would say with Gina is that, first of all, her solo storyline, I don't need any more of that,
Okay.
ever. I don't think it's
At
interesting,
least
and I
it's
don't think
there though.
that's true. But I thought I liked Emily's footage where she was like, you need to get on Ozempic too, Shane, or you'll die. Like, okay, funny. I thought that was funny. I agree with you that Emily's solo footage on an actual scale of like, was this good, was bad. But I like So Bad It's Good better than, Vicky Snore. And that's how I felt about Gina's solo footage. But that's okay because it's not like Tamara's ever had a good solo scene.
Yeah,
Well, no,
you're
she
right.
has that one where she
But not
cried when her
not
son got married, but not in years.
not recently. No.
So I think my issue with Gina is just that I don't love her role in the group dynamic always, but it's also hard for me to actually prove why she should be fired because the person they replace her with could be much worse.
Yeah.
Gina is average through and through. I think I wish she would lean less into being the funny girl because she's not that funny, and I wish she would just I don't know, focus more on. I liked her fight with Katie, and I felt like she kind of dropped that because she didn't think it was going well for her. I almost feel like she's too smart. Like, just let yourself
Mm.
go a little bit.
Hmm.
It's okay to be the villain once in a while. She's never really done that, and I would like her better if she did that. And as for Emily, I really oscillate with Emily. Some weeks I'm like, you're funny, you're good. Some weeks she's just a little too much, but I don't know. I like everything that has ever happened between Emily and Heather, not super compelling to me. But I do think Emily versus Alexis was great. And I
Oh
do
yeah.
think Emily is perceptive and smart. And I like that she's like kind of studying to be the Tamra underling, but I also think she's not nearly as good as it is Tamra. So I guess I don't know. I'm fine with both of them. I just think neither of them are stars. And I don't think
And
either
that's
of
okay
them
though. I don't think every
and
housewife needs to be,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because
It's
I
very
loved
much okay.
Robin, and it's not like Robin was a star.
No,
So
certainly not. No, certainly
I
not.
think I would like to see one of them actually be central to a feud and see how they handle it.
Totally. Yeah.
Because they've
That could be
never
a good
done
thing for
that.
next season. Yeah,
But you
absolutely.
can't force it either. If that's not how they are, then it's okay. Did I
But I
like
but I kind of feel
I
like at
don't
the
know.
reunion, I kind of feel like at the reunion, Emily was sort of like
Oh,
she
she
was
was
the
fired
she
up.
was the main antagonist for a lot of it, even if she wasn't involved again. But like, it's it's funny because when she was doing it with Jen, I was like, Emily, stop, you're not involved. And then when she was doing it with Alexis, I was like, yes, go Emily.
I
It's just
know.
kind of
She was
like
really on one at this
she
reunion. I don't
was.
know if she got like
I
someone in her ear, like
I
maybe
think that
you're
was it.
because I
Yeah.
feel like it's happened before. Like I feel like Heather Thompson at the season 7 New York reunion, where every
Mm.
time anything happened, she's like, "Wait, can I get my opinion?" And then she wasn't back for season 8. I think maybe someone did say something, or maybe she was reading the online chatter because it hasn't been
Mm.
super positive about her.
Right.
I think a lot of people, when they're talking about an orange getting juiced, I feel like Emily has been consistent for the one that the overall fan base seems to think. So maybe she came into this reunion like, I want to prove why I should stay. And
And
I
I think
don't
she
think she
did.
failed. I think she
I think
was
she
funny.
succeeded in that, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
I
Totally.
loved everything that she did with Alexis. I think it was so funny. And I liked what she did with Jen too, because I did appreciate her explaining it. I do think that it would be really annoying if everyone's like, you know what, Jen, you're right. This is not shady at all. Because no, it is shady and it's weird. And we need someone to actually say that. Because Heather and Tamara will be like, well, we're just protecting you. And it's like, okay. At least Emily can sometimes just be really blunt.
Yeah. You also forget that Emily is the one who brought Alexis back into they were like the quote unquote friends who rode into that first party together, if I'm remembering correctly. And like
Yeah. It's so weird
I
to
think
think
that I
about.
think it was also sort of a little bit of an effort for her to like really chop that connection and just be like, no,
Oh,
you
well,
know.
people have long forgotten about that. So
I
she's
agree.
succeeded. I mean, it's crazy to think about Alexis's one episode. I think it was in season 14, because yeah, she came through Emily once again there. But now Emily's like, we were just social friends, which I completely believe, but it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, I
But,
agree.
what is Housewives if not introducing a friend and then quickly regretting it?
Yeah.
Everyone's doing that these days. It's the Lisa and
It
Bronwyn.
really is the du jour thing right now. Yep.
It's really chic. But yeah, no, I think Emily had a fun reunion. I know that it was nasty at times, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Nasty funny.
Nasty can be
I
good.
think
Yeah.
everyone actually had a pretty good reunion. I can't say anyone failed at the reunion except for Alexis. I
Hmm.
think it was a really good reunion for them because Alexis basically lost a spot on the show. So, they're everyone got a little
A
safer.
success. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think
So
they could tell.
so let's talk about the future a little bit of what this franchise could look like in season 19. So
Hmm.
I feel like that I'm curious if you think that that scene filmed 36 hours after the reunion, if that how much that was sort of teeing up what we could expect from a subsequent season, or was it just Heather and Tamara trying to really clear their names and start off on the right foot with Shannon next year? Was it to sort of just like again solidify that solid ground they're on with her, or was it to sort of officially wash the hands of Alexis? Because I feel like that was serving some sort of purpose in terms of a forward-looking, vision.
Yeah. I think that season or that scene's specific purpose was to say Alexis is not moving on with the
Yeah,
show.
me
I
too.
noticed that Tamara mentioned she mentioned was when she
Hmm.
referred to Alexis, like, oh, Alexis is dead. Okay, it's over. I don't think it was Heather and Tamara trying to, manage their image, because I think they're smart enough to know to do that at the actual reunion if they really cared. I don't think Heather cares that much. I think she cared a lot more about being third seat than she cared about if Shannon likes her, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
'Cause
So then, why
she's,
do you think that she waited to say it to Shannon?
I don't know if she thought they would just pick up cameras at all. I think she thought
Yeah, they've never done that. Yeah.
I mean, it was a good season. It's possible that when filming starts, I imagine it won't take a million years to get to it. She might have thought this will be a big story for that premiere. I don't
Right.
think she thought that would, but I also think she just didn't want to mention it because she didn't want it to reflect poorly on her. And she
Hmm.
got to kind of control the narrative this way, and she likes to do that. But it was an interesting scene. I think it's the first time we've ever seen
I
something
think so
like
too.
actually, and it was kind of weird because they hid it completely. Like when I actually saw that, I was like, oh, this was not
Right.
mentioned. It's not in the synopsis. No one mentioned, oh, cameras are going back up, which I very much appreciate. Like, thank God
Me too. I
for
love a
the fact that they
surprise.
can still keep a secret.
Hmm.
I don't know if it has a huge impact, but I do think you can guarantee all 5 of those women will be back next year,
A
because why
thousand
else would they
percent.
be there? And I
Hmm.
know Katie and Jen will be back because
Hmm.
they just will.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It
Do you-
does it mean that everyone's going to be against Jin next season? I hope not, and I
I
doubt
don't think
it.
so. No, I don't think
I don't
so.
think that at all.
Also, especially because if any of them are reading fan reaction, it's very clear that fans are obsessed with Jen, and
Yeah.
so turning on her in a big way likely would not be received well unless she really like betrays somebody. So I don't know. I'm curious. I also kind of feel like obviously you alluded to Jen and Katie's relationship with Alexis, and that's sort of like this like they post a lot together on Instagram. They're very much advertising that friendship, and I kind of think that's a slight not I don't know if it's a misread, but like it's obviously a little strategic, and I think they're sort of trying to, vouch for her to come back maybe and be like a friend with them. But I'm like, I kind of think that's a little bit like amateur hour, a little bit for them to sort of vouch for Alexis in that way. I personally think that.
I think that if they're trying to keep Alexis on the show, they should speak up when the cameras are on, and
Yeah.
that's what I'll say about that. So I would agree, but I also think it's nice that they haven't let other people bully them out of being friends with someone if they genuinely like Alexis. I do believe that Alexis got a really bad edit. I know that she's got more going on, even though she did say and do all the things she did. But I know that if you really wanted to give her a good edit, you probably could have given her an uh, yeah, it could have been okay. But no, so I think that there's probably sides to Alexis that all of these women do genuinely enjoy. I
Hmm.
believe that they like her more than Tamara does. I'll never believe that Tamara likes Alexis. I simply can't believe that.
Hmm.
I know that I think she believed in the Alexis 2.0 return, but I don't think she genuinely wants to get coffee with her in 10 years. So no, I
That's a
don't
great
know.
distinction. Yes.
I think that Katie and Jen being friends with Alexis is just interesting though, because genuinely, if you don't follow social media and you didn't hear Heather mention that
You
last
never
night,
know.
never have a clue. I would have
Hmm.
thought these women don't even know each other's names. I don't remember any scene they have except for the one where Alexis kicked them out. And I don't think of that as wow,
And that
three
ended
girls just
badly.
being
Right,
besties.
exactly.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't think Alexis is returning, and I don't think Katie and Jen would ever stick their necks out for her because they
No,
are
but it
new.
it just sort of feels like when people start posting a lot to sort of remind that they're friends with somebody and that they organically hang out outside the show around this time of a season. I personally think that it's trying to send a message.
Oh,
That's
definitely. But it's
historically what
not
it
going
sort
to
of
be
means. No, and
successful.
it's certainly not going to be successful.
I also just think Jin has a big heart, and I think she probably feels bad. And I
Yeah, I
think
think you're
that
right.
she probably, it's like when they posted with Charisse last year, no one really thought, oh, Charisse is coming back. The Potomac ladies like Charisse, and they're like, sure, we'll throw a post. But I don't think anyone's going to stick their neck out. And I think Jen is smart. I do think she's smart in the group dynamic. Maybe not in her personal relationships, but I think she knows the group dynamic well enough to know
Yeah,
that if she really stuck out for Alexis, it's going to be bad for her. Because already there was that weird Shannon versus Jen tension at the reading, which I don't think is super serious, but I think, if she continues to advocate for Alexis, that's going to be bad for her. And I
hmm
just know that I would be shocked if Tamra has any part of her left that's willing to go out on the line for Alexis. I think she's cut
I
that
think it's done.
alliance free.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
it's
they're
done.
still friends, but no, not on the
Hmm.
show.
Yeah. So is there anything else you're like, hmm, let's explore that next season. Let's
Um,
sort of unfurl that.
That's a good question, and I feel like there's a lot. I think my biggest thing for next season that I want to see is a bigger defining of Shannon and Heather's relationship because I
Hmm.
still don't fully get it
Yeah, it's a little
after all
unclear.
this time.
Hmm.
I was shocked when she returned in season 16 and they were adversaries. It felt like fan fiction. Like it felt like they hadn't watched the
Right.
show because they were good for more than they were bad. And then the last 2 years, it's clear that they just don't trust each other. But it's like they want to be each other's ally in a sense, but they're also, the second the tides turn, each of them will turn. So I would like to see next season more of a commitment to defining what that relationship is and what they actually think of each other. I don't get it, and I just want to get it more. I think that's the only relationship on the show that I don't fully understand right now.
Mm.
Because we didn't talk about it this year
Mm-mm.
much. And then when we do
Except for
talk about
the one hotel thing when Heather sort of mentioned
and
it in
that seemed
London.
like a moment that was good, and then you get to
Yeah, I
London
agree.
where it's bad.
Hmm.
And every time they've had a one-on-one sit down, it's been amazing TV. So I just think
It's
that
shaky. Yeah.
like if I were a producer, I would have them do a one-on-one in the premiere to define what's going on and just kind of set the stage for the next season. I don't think they need to be friends. I just want to know, do we like each other right now? Because
Sure.
I can't tell.
Right.
So that's the biggest question mark for me. But I think overall, it was a great year. Shannon, Heather, and Tamra and Jen have all solidified themselves as the anchors of this era. And I think, like I said, Gina and Emily are utility players. They are worth keeping ultimately, even if I personally might take a gamble. And I think Katie's a wild card, and that's a good
Yeah.
cast.
We love a wild
That's
card.
yes, because I think next season, I don't know where it's going. I just know it's going interesting places, and that's what I like.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm curious to see, I would love Jen to get Tamara more on her back foot because I feel like Tamara's always leaning in and Tamara's always, forcing the agenda. And I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
would love to see if Jen could do that with Tamara and sort of flip the script a little bit because I think that would be really interesting. And I think she has it in her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also wrestling with, do I want more Katie and Heather? Because there's clearly a visceral dislike there, but I don't know if I like love watching that. I don't know.
No,
You know
I
what I
don't
mean? I'm
know.
wrestling with it.
Well, I think, like I said about one-on-ones, I think it is interesting that Katie and Heather's fights all take place in a group setting. I'd like to
Yeah.
see them film
Ooh.
one-on-one. That's my biggest qualm with modern Housewives is I think that they try to save the fights for the group scenes, but I do think you need a two-on-one and a one-on-one every once in a while.
Hmm.
So I would like to see that, but yes, I agree that if it continues in this direction, put it on the back burner for a second and then maybe pick it up at the cast trip or something.
Right. Right.
But as for Jin and Tamara, I completely agree. I think what's happening there is interesting because I think Jin truly, truly did not want to feud with anyone ever, which is not Housewives. And so she accidentally fell headfirst into being at this central feud. And now she's finally like, okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'll be a real housewife. I'll fight with people. And she's really good at it, is the
Hmm.
interesting thing. So yes, I would like to see next season her get her toes wet, maybe try to turn some people against Tamara. I don't know if it'll be successful, but take some swings, be mean on purpose. It's okay. Tamara deserves it. And let's
Yeah.
have some fun with it. I
And
think they're
people will
great.
still think of you as a good person. Yeah.
No, I think they're just a great enemy duo. I don't think we've
Yeah,
seen
me
one
too.
this good on Orange County since Shannon versus Heather early days. So I'm excited by it.
Hmm.
And I think it's necessary for Tamara's longevity on the show that she has an actual good adversary
Uh-huh.
because
Hmm.
Shannon has never been that for her. They're a good duo, but they're not adversaries. They're just not.
No.
Shannon doesn't fight well.
No, no,
Alexis is probably the only time she's ever gotten a one up
Shannon
on
really
someone.
reacts. She's just sort of a reactive fighter. Like she doesn't really instigate it in that same way a lot of the time. I feel
Yeah.
like it's always like her emotionally reacting to things a lot of the time. The other thing I
Yeah.
think about with Jen is like that one comment at the reunion when she told Emily, "Oh, I heard your in-laws pay for your life." And
Yeah,
like
that was
that
funny.
that was really funny and it also showed me that she can do what you just said, which is like be a little mean or be a little like
Hmm.
hit kind of where it hurts, you know?
And it's nice that she does it in a way that's always kind of warranted. Like
Yeah,
she's like she's waiting for the opportune moments. I don't think she's a strategist, and I think that's actually completely
I
working
love
towards her
that.
benefit
Hmm.
because she's just
It's authentic.
naturally growing into her housewife role. No, I love Jen. I think she's proof that casting can still kill it. I really love her. I can't wait to see what she does next, and I do think she's probably going to lean more into it. And I'd be enthralled if in a year from now she's fallen out of fan favor because of a wild villain arc. I will still be supporting her. I know
Yeah,
that
me
because
too.
I want to see a Jen villain arc. I think she's earned it. They've been mean to her. I
Hmm.
think she needs to start fighting back because if she can, I mean, I would like her to start fighting back in her personal life first, but I'll take the group dynamic.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
want her to be mean to Tamara and Emily. They need it. I like when her and Gina were fighting earlier this season, it was one of the funniest fights of the year for me because
That coffee shop scene,
she was so
legendary.
unamused by it. And
Uh-huh.
it just kills me. I love Jen. She's literally, I don't know how she ended up on Housewives, but I love that she's here,
It's so interesting because I randomly was listening to her on Vicky Gunvalson's podcast this week, and she
which
was
is a
talking
great
about how
duo.
she, yeah, it's a great duo, and she was talking about how they tried to cast her several years ago and they just found her too boring. And then right when her marriage was falling apart, she got a call because she thinks Tamara tipped them off that her marriage is falling apart. And now all of a sudden it's interesting to them.
Well, I
So
mean, I know for a
they've
fact
had her eye
Tamara
on
could
her.
produce the hell out of a reality show, so I'm not
Oh,
shocked.
yeah,
And I'm glad that they called her. I think
me
she's the
too.
best OC casting we've had since Kelly Dodd. And unlike Kelly Dodd, I think she can stick. the landing
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
I agree. Yeah.
no,
Um,
everything is great. I'm really
yeah,
excited by it all,
me
which
too.
is a good thing.
It
I
could
feel
be a
like a
great,
lot
it
of
could be a great like
seasons.
3, 4 year run, I think. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think a lot of seasons have ended lately where we're like, oh, thank God. Like New Jersey, I was so
Right.
exhausted. Potomac last year,
Yeah.
I was struggling. It's so good to end a season and be immediately excited by the next one. And
Uh-huh.
I feel like with the drought coming soon, I wouldn't be shocked if they pick up filming sooner than
Great
later
turnaround. I
because of
agree.
that.
And they don't really have to do much more casting. Maybe add a friend or something, and that's pretty much it, you know? Like they
Yeah,
have
and
they have the cast. Yeah.
well, it's interesting because they've actually added a new housewife every single season of Orange County, like every single year. So
Wow, I've never clocked that. Wow.
if they don't, I'm pretty confident in this, so but I'm not 100%. So
Okay.
if there's a historian out there who wants to, check Wikipedia, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So if they don't next year, it'll be the first time ever.
Wow.
But I feel like OC just always is shaking it up a little bit. And I don't, now that we have 7 housewives continuing, I don't think they're going to go into an 8 housewife season. This was their second 7.
Hmm.
So I actually think, yeah, I think next season might be the first time that they're
They
just
don't.
completely
Yeah.
sticking to the same cast.
I'm
And I don't
down.
think it's a bad idea.
Me neither. Well, Alec, this was awesome. Thank you for coming on your first podcast. And
Thank you.
where can people read your writing? And because again, the recaps were so good. You're doing Salt Lake for Daily Beast as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm writing for the Daily Beast recaps. If anyone wants to go read back the Orange County ones, you can see where I started to lose faith in Alexis making a return. And I'm also currently doing Salt Lake City and New York and Beverly Hills.
Oh,
And
you're
two
doing
out of
all
those
of
three
them.
shows are really great right now. So it's been
Wow.
great.
Yeah,
No,
New York
I'm
must
not
be
doing
like pulling.
Potomac right now.
Okay.
Which after last season, it was a little like touch and go. But I actually really think Potomac's been good this
I
year.
agree. I agree.
So yes, I'm doing a lot right now, but
Okay.
it's all good fun. And if people want to check that out, I don't know if they'll always agree with me because sometimes I do read Twitter and I'm like, damn, I'm on an island of my own. But I think
That's a good, I
hopefully
think it's a
people
good
enjoy
place
a
to be when it
perspective.
comes to the online commentary. I think it's really great to have the differing
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, I mean, honestly, I love the fan base. They're funny
Me
people. I
too.
think it just depends. I think half of the people want these people to be their friends and the other half want to laugh with them. And I think
Mm,
I feel like I'm more on the side of I just want to have a good laugh and I want to watch the drama.
right.
And Orange County is a great show to laugh with and watch drama, and that's probably why it killed it.
Right.
So
There we
yes,
go.
I mean, I don't. It was an OC renaissance, and I think Housewives in general has had more good seasons than bad over the last year. So I do feel. I know there was a lot of people dooming glooming around the time of 2020 when the pandemic hit, but I do feel like we're in an upswing. So I'm
Me
excited
too.
by everything that's going on in OC, Salt Lake, and I can't wait to see what goes on next. I feel like next season of OC could easily be better than this one, which is a
Hmm.
kind of crazy thing to say.
Absolutely. Well, Alec, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to have you back. This is great. And have a great week.
Thank you so much.
I want to gab.